Hello, hello. My name is Brianna Ellison, and I'm the Community Relations Officer with the City of Duluth. I am so excited to be able to welcome you here to the beautiful West Theater for the 2023 State of the City Address. Thank you for joining us both in person and virtually. To begin tonight, I will start by sharing a land acknowledgement. We're on ancestral lands and contemporary homelands of the Dakota, Ojibwe, and many Native nations, known as Mesabe Kong, meaning the place of giants. This holds cultural, spiritual, and historical significance. For over 500 years, Native peoples have demonstrated resistance in the face of violent efforts to separate them from their land, culture, and each other. A series of treaties ceded massive amounts of land and resources, amassing wealth at the expense of Indigenous peoples. Despite those losses, the Indigenous treaty negotiators maintained important rights for the Indigenous people within the ceded lands, including Duluth. Amidst the backdrop of colonization and its modern inequities, Indigenous peoples have been here and will always be here, demonstrating their distinct political status, cultural defiance, and strengths. We believe our relationship and history shape and define our future, and we're actively building relationships built on mutual respect and trust with the Duluth Indigenous community and neighboring tribal nations. But these words at the top of a speech can't possibly do justice to the history or to our relationships. The implications go beyond words. We're committed to embedding an understanding of our obligations and addressing systematic inequalities in city decisions. We vow to illuminate the vibrance of Native voices, contributions, wisdom, lived experiences, and innovations. We'd like to give special thanks to City Council President Janet Kennedy, who you'll be hearing from shortly, Vice President Roz Randorf, and Councilors Eric Forsman, Azreen Owl, Therese Tomanek, Noah Hobbs, Gary Anderson, Mike Mayo, and Hannah Alstead. Also, thank you to our partners, including St. Louis County Commissioner Annie Harla, who's in attendance, County Administrator Kevin Gray, Duluth Public Schools Superintendent Jog Magus, and Assistant Superintendent Anthony Bonds, as well as multiple school board members. Our partners at UMD and CSS, the Chamber of Commerce, and various neighborhood business groups, as well as our friends in labor for joining us tonight. Since we last gathered for this address, we've lost 3 dedicated public servants and leaders at the city. Renee Van Met and Barb Russ were 2 city councilors who championed issues that impacted us every day. Hardworking Duluthians, and they each served with dedication, grace, good humor, and integrity. Councilor Van Net was the first Indigenous woman elected to the Duluth City Council and served a term as council president. Councilor Russ came out of retirement as a county attorney to serve our community as an at-large counselor. They are deeply missed by family, friends, counselors, and staff. Additionally, as a city, we mourn the loss of Chief Engineer of Utilities, Eric Schaefer, whose efforts were leading this community and the state in addressing lead lines and improving health of residents across Duluth. Eric was family to many people here at the city. I'd like to invite you to join me in a moment of silence to honor the memory of Renee, Barb, and Eric, as well as their contributions to our city. Thank you for joining me in that. Next, we are honored to have the Lake Superior Youth Chorus again with us this year. Thank you for coming. I'd also like to just give an announcement on behalf of the owner of this theater. He's invited everyone in attendance here to join him for a free showing of a movie, as well as free tours next door. He's going to be renovating the theater next door as well. So you're welcome to join us at the conclusion of our program tonight. Once the youth chorus is done, Council President Janet Kennedy will join the stage and help us begin the formal program. Thank you.
Well, good evening and welcome. My name is Janet Kennedy. Welcome to West Duluth. I am serving this year as a City Council President for 2023. So before the young folk leave, I want to thank the Lake Superior Youth Chorus for singing. We're going to give them another hand, but first I want to say I've been here several times for several events over the years, over many years, and just recently since this has been redeveloped, it's a great place. And I know they do allow here, counselors, cheers, jeers, laughters, and applauses. They are allowed here tonight, so let's give them another round of applause. So before we get started, I do want to, at this time, I'd like to welcome the Duluth Fire and Police Department Color Guard to join us in presenting the colors. Please rise for the posting of the colors. Color Guard, please post the colors.
Forward, march. Face. Ready, post. Ready, pop. Breathe in, on. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Order, arms. Ready, face. Forward, march.
Thank you all. I believe you can be seated now. So again, welcome. My name's Janet Kennedy. I do again want to thank Bob Boone for really renovating this beautiful theater. I remember coming here, Bob, when Jaws was playing in the 1970s. That was a movie. That was before all the new techno stuff came out, and it was like a big Jaws puppet, really. Your efforts are showcased in this beautiful place, and it's come a long ways, and thank you for persevering and working through all the hard times that it took. So I want to acknowledge all the public officials here. If you want to raise your hands, stand up, and we thank you for your service and your families as well. Do you want to just stand up, raise your hands? I'm not sure who are all here. Say hello. Thank you for serving our community. As well as other administrators, school board, county, and even at the state level, we appreciate you and all the hard work we do together. Intergovernmental work is really good work. So I want to just start by thanking Councillor Anderson, Councillor Forsman, Councillor Hobbs. They'll be leaving us this year. But we want to applaud you and are grateful for the service you've given us over the many years. So let's applaud them as well. Councillor Alstead and Vice President Randorf, my announcement for re-election was yesterday, so tag, you're it. Councillor Alstead, I can always spot a true leader in how you are willing to step up when needed. Miigwech for stepping up to serve for our colleague council member, Renee Vanette. Congratulations, Councillor Randorf, on being elected Vice President. I look forward to doing the hard work with you and getting into good trouble working on the city issues this year. Councillor Wall, Dominic, and Mayo, I appreciate you all. We will continue to serve our community with dignity, building consensus when we can, and if not, we will continue to maintain civility, respectable dialogue that will move forward the issues that make a difference for all people here in Duluth. So councilors, I enjoy working with you all and thank you for helping make the City Council a productive and welcoming council. So this is my part for you all. I'm really excited about what's happening in Duluth and really especially excited about the Western Duluth developments. We're working on the G&D Rec and the Riverfront development, and our goal is to make sure we complete these projects on time and on budget to benefit all Duluthians. So my particular passion has been community impact development, community assets and amenities that fill the needs for families and individuals of all ages. For instance, the Spirit Valley Building for Youth and Community Wellness. This proposed project will provide much-needed childcare, serve our youth to elder population with a safe, nurturing place to grow, learn, and reconnect our neighbors to each other. I have also had the opportunity to increase health and wellness access, including health care for community members across the city, and particularly, and especially for me, in Western Duluth. With the support of local health, regional medical centers, and local groups like Health Equity Northland, we have reached over thousands of residents to improve their level of care and wellness during the pandemic. So, I'm almost completed. So I am very proud of the city. I'm very proud of the City Council. And I know that the community will continue to expect great things in 2023 from your elected officials on the Duluth City Council. So I do now have the privilege of introducing our mayor, Emily Larson. Thank you.
Thank you, President Kennedy. You are an outstanding leader. Thank you for the wonderful comments you gave, the much deserved recognition of so many people in this room. And your leadership is exciting. It is really exciting to work with. So thank you for who you are. Welcome, everybody. It's great to be here. It is so good to be here. I have to tell you, we literally had front row seats for those kids. That was really something. A few thank yous and a few comments before I begin my actual speech. Welcome to those of you who are here in the West Theater for the first time. It's with intention, and I'll talk about why we're here, but I will just say it feels great to be in this room together. I want to thank members of the city leadership team. Many of you are here. I want to thank, in particular, the people I work very closely with every day: Noah Schuckman, Phil Jentz, Bronwyn Bauer, Katie Roner, Brianna Ellison, Kelly Latuska. You have put an enormous amount of time and effort into this event. Thank you. I want to thank Eric Peterson, who is a collaborator and colleague and thinker who helps me shape this event and this speech every year. We start working on this in December, and it takes this long because it's that important. I want to thank my family. My husband, Doug, and our son, Eli, are here, and our son, Gabe, is watching elsewhere where he lives. And I want to thank my parents. I used to have 4, but now I have 3. So I remember Gigi dearly with me today, and I thank Narita, Lee, and Pam. And then I just have a lot of family and cousins, y'all. So I don't know how many people are watching that are just straight family members, but thank you. I feel your love. And also, I just want to make a few comments about snow. Thank you. I think it was President Kennedy. You said this is a room where we can cheer and jeer. And I just who's ready for spring? Right? Are we all ready? I have to say that I'm ready for it too. And a couple of comments. This has been a really tough winter for people. I know that. It's been tough for you as residents who have had to figure out how to navigate your lives, knowing that there is inclement weather happening to us and with us all the time. It has been challenging for the National Weather Service, who is trying to predict it when we are reliably unpredictable with this wonderful lake. It's challenging for our school districts around us who are trying to navigate how to help make sure that kids are getting everything that they need. I know that we're all doing the best that we can, and I thank you. I know that when you are calling my office and letting me know, it's because you care. And I want you to know that we are listening always and working to make adjustments or working to consider new ideas and integrate them in different ways. And mostly, I really, really need and want to thank our city staff. We have 35 people who do the amazing work of clearing our snow in the winter, and they're the same ones who are gonna be out for pothole season coming up. It's the same number of crew we've had for a couple of decades now. And thank you. This is a crew that is led by Jim Benning and Chad Bednar and Jeff Vukolich. 35 people who have put in countless 16-hour shifts over and over and over and over again. So please join me in thanking our city staff. And our thanks to all of you for hanging in there in the winter. Spring is a-coming. It is coming. I know it is. It comes every year, a little later than we want it, but it feels good. So let's get started. I'm really happy to be with you here at the West Theater tonight. We were scheduled to be here 3 years ago, but the pandemic hit. We canceled the speech, and the last 3 years are really etched into all of our memories with great clarity. Thank you to Bob Boone for welcoming us back and for extending, Bob, your invitation to linger tonight in this theater and to tour the adjacent one next door under reconstruction. It's important to be here for other reasons as well. Tonight, I want to talk about our vision for Duluth, the persistence it takes to achieve it, and the progress we are making together. So imagine that it is 1937. We are in the middle of the Great Depression, in the heart of industrial West Duluth. 1 out of every 4 workers is unemployed. Families are losing their homes, businesses are closing, soup lines and tent cities are proliferating. News of rising fascism in Europe and here at home makes the possibility of another war real. It is hard to imagine a bleaker time. And yet, 2 entrepreneurs had a dream to build a grand, modern Art Deco theater here in the heart of West Duluth. They believed in this community's future. They persisted, and for 2 decades, the West was a neighborhood anchor. Actually, for 4 decades, the West was a neighborhood anchor. Fast forward to 2016, when another visionary, Bob Boone, purchased the building from Dave Orman, who shared his belief that West Duluth once again needed a local neighborhood theater. It must have been hard for others to see this possibility at that time, because the years since its closing in the 1970s had been really hard on this theater, as they had been on this neighborhood. The once landmark theater was in very, very rough shape, but Bob had a vision and a plan and persistence, and he set out to restore the West to the beautiful space it is today. And certainly he did not do that alone. He worked with the Northeast Entrepreneur Fund to help secure funding and financing. DITA, the 1200 Fund, Park State Bank, and Northland Foundation helped get it over the finish line. And dozens of volunteers pitched in with countless hours of sweat, labor. Restoring the West was truly a community effort. And then, Right as it was opening for business, another disaster struck: the pandemic. Bob, like so many other business owners in Duluth, struggled to keep this business open and to keep moving forward. But despite all of the obstacles he faced, despite being told that restoring an old theater was a fool's errand, dare I say it, nevertheless, Bob persisted. So big visions like this, they don't just happen. And big goals don't get met by tweeting them out or by posting about them on Facebook. It takes intention, relentless persistence, and collaboration. There are few better places to make these connections than here in West Duluth. Long-term businesses have anchored this neighborhood through good times and tough times. Andren's Paint opened in 1896 as a family-owned business, and it still is a family-owned business. The Come On In has a rich history as a working-class gathering place, and Mr. D's, just think of all of the community gatherings and fundraisers that have taken place at Mr. D's over the years. There are new and reimagined visions for the neighborhood as well, like Wuso's and Zenith Books across the street, the Jade Fountain next door, and the Gopher a block away. A vibrant West Duluth business club has served this area since 1902. And the Irving Community Club and fierce advocacy of President Janet Kennedy fight for this neighborhood every single day. And there are still many challenges. The old Kmart site desperately needs to be redeveloped in a way that connects rather than divides our business district. Finding the right partner to develop this site is a top city priority. And the story of the West Theater and West Duluth make me hopeful that our intention and our persistence will pay off. So let me begin. In an era of gotcha politics and viral social media and lightning fast news cycles, there is often this impatience, a demand for instant results, an impulse too many leaders pander to, especially during election years. But tonight, I actually want to slow the conversation down. I want to tell stories of taking on problems that have plagued Duluth for decades. Stories of vision and persistent action now, bringing positive results and laying the foundations for future progress. And I want to start and begin with Parks and Rec. Parks and outdoor recreational opportunities set Duluth apart from other cities. 122 developed parks, 353 miles of trail ranging from hiking and biking, skiing, even horseback riding, 40 neighborhood playgrounds, 79 rinks, athletic fields, and courts. On virtually every measure, Duluth surpasses peer cities for access to playgrounds and public green space, soccer fields, basketball courts, baseball fields, and yes, hockey rinks. And these places, they are critical for that Duluth magic. And that is the good news. And so now here's the tough news. Less than 10% of our neighborhood parks and recreational facilities are in good condition. And that's just a fact. And here's the stubborn math. Decades of disinvestment reaching back to the 1970s have dug us into a $155 million deferred parks maintenance hole. Our current capital funding to tackle that problem is grossly inadequate, less than $250,000 a year. To try and bridge that gap, we've had to rely heavily on external funding, which often can't be used for our neighborhood parks and other core maintenance. This mismatch, it's not because we don't see the problem. It's not because we don't value neighborhood parks and athletic facilities. It's just the brutal financial math. The 2011 dedicated park levy helped, but it is about half the amount we need each year, and each year its purchasing power declines because it remains flat. And last November's narrowly defeated parks referendum screamed to me and this community two very powerful messages. First, that people love their parks. And second, in these economically tough times, they're unable to pay more taxes to maintain them. So the results really are obvious, and I get it. My family and I, we love and we use these parks and facilities too. So none of this means that we should just be content with the status quo of our parks and our facilities. I'm certainly not. And solving this problem is not going to happen with happy talk or nostalgia for days gone by or magical thinking. We need to actually tackle that brutal math with a plan and then the persistence to see it all the way through. We need to restore our neighborhood parks and community athletic facilities citywide and develop a mechanism for sustainable long-term maintenance funding. That is our priority. And it is daunting, and it is big, and it matters, and we can do it. I know we can do. Oh, good. I think you think we can do it too then. But I know we can do this because we're doing it with our streets right now. When I took office, we had virtually no budget to repair our streets. At 2 miles per year, it would have taken 250 years to get to all of our roads once. But we built a partnership spanning the Chamber of Commerce, and I think Matt and Daniel are here tonight, thank you, and the building trades, and I know Andy and Dan are here tonight, thank you. We established a dedicated street repair fund, and now we have a dedicated $10 million a year for the next 25 years. Last year, we repaired 17 miles, and this year we will repair 17 more. That math is important, because our community is now, that is a 850% improvement. Anyone, let's be honest, because anyone who rides or drives our roads knows that we're not there yet. And I know you're gonna reaffirm that for me this spring. And that's okay, because we're here to do the hard work together. And we are heading in the right direction, and we're just going to accelerate. I know that we can find the solution for our neighborhood parks because we're already doing it in our western parks. For decades, Western Duluth suffered neglect and disinvestment. Old, contaminated industrial sites cut up neighborhoods and blocked residents' access to the St. Louis River. Destination parks, like Lincoln Park and Chambers Grove Park, they went into disrepair. Several community centers were so decrepit that after the 2012 flood, they had to be demolished. But renewal starts with vision. Mayor Don Ness's vision in this case, to leverage money for cleaning up the polluted river, to remediate and to restore and to revitalize our western parks and our western trails. Duluth enacted a dedicated sales tax targeted towards tourists, what is now called the half and half tax, and it raised $18 million for western parks. And then when I took office, I launched a community engagement process to identify what neighborhoods and community members wanted from these parks. And working together with our community partners, we secured an additional $45 million in federal, state, and private grants. 8 years of hard work and collaboration between an outstanding city parks team led by Jim Philby-Williams and Jess Peterson and Eric Birkeland and their amazing, amazing teams. So the collaboration between our outstanding city parks team and the community, these These collaborations are paying off. Substantial restoration of Duluth's destination parks and improvements for 12 Western neighborhood parks. This means new and renewed sports courts and playgrounds and picnic areas and community gardens, places to be. And I could go on talking about all sorts of different parks, but I actually need to tell you the story and focus on Lincoln Park, Duluth's oldest park, as an example of what is possible when we decide we're going to get something done. For 125 years, Lincoln Park has been a place for families to gather. It was the site of Duluth's first playground. Association picnics used to draw 10 to 20,000 residents there. As the city grew, the park was one of the few green spaces that remained in that neighborhood, but over the years, the once majestic, special park fell into neglect, and it no longer felt safe or a place for families to enjoy. Along with local community partners like Eco3, the Lincoln Park Business Group, Lincoln Park Children and Families Collaborative, and other foundations, nonprofits, and businesses, the restoration of Lincoln Park is fully underway, and we anticipate completion this October. And when complete, it will include better parking, an event pavilion, a picnic pavilion, wheelchair accessible walkways, restrooms, a ball field, playground, sports court, a park that this neighborhood deserves. Once again, Lincoln Park will be a beautiful place that people will want to go to. So here's my point on this. The stories of the Western Duluth Corridor revitalization show that we can take on big challenges and accomplish great things when we work together with vision and that relentless persistence to see the job all the way through. Now, we need to do this for neighborhood parks and athletic facilities across the whole city. Last year, we started with our Parks Master Plan. It's called Essential Spaces. It was created out of a year-long community engagement process with thousands of community members. And this year, we are prioritizing how to fund athletic facility improvements. So here's the plan. The half and half tax that catalyzed the Western Duluth Western Corridor revitalization is set to expire. With City Council approval, we've asked the legislature to continue it for another 30 years. This will raise up to $36 million, which we will use to leverage additional funds just as we did for Western parks. But our focus will be bigger. Our focus will be to use this money to pay for park-based public athletic fields and courts and rinks throughout Duluth. Our emphasis will be on those neighborhood parks where we can pair competitive athletic facilities, think sports clubs and teams, with other important unprogrammed amenities like picnic and community gathering spaces and playground facilities, accessible walking paths, other spaces to just be. And here's our next steps. It's already underway. We're already working with our local legislators to secure legislative approval. It was approved out of the House committee today. And once secured, we will start an extensive community engagement process along with our Parks Master Plan to help identify once again with you, led by you, the projects and types of facilities we need to pursue. None of this is going to be instant. None of it will happen like that. But we have proven as a community that when we prioritize something, we will get it done. This is the case as well with infrastructure. Duluth's infrastructure is old. And we have a lot of it. And although we take so much pride in our quirky geography and our weather and the snow and the cold, but all of these things that make us exactly who we are, they present challenges to our old infrastructure. And this is a decades-old problem. Thanks to the city's public works and utilities team, and I mentioned them a bit at the beginning of the speech, we're making steady progress on our streets and protecting Lake Superior from untreated stormwater runoff, and we're leading the state. We've rebuilt the lake walk to withstand increasingly violent storms, and we'll be rebuilding the bayfront seawall by the deck this spring. This year, we expect to begin construction on our fiber optic internet pilot project, the first step in our big and bold and very persistent, clear commitment to ensure that all Duluthians have access to reliable and affordable internet access within 6 years. And now, we're turning our attention to getting lead out of our water pipes. Prior to 1930, the smaller pipes leading to homes from the city's main water lines were often lead. And for the first time in Duluth's history, my administration is identifying all lead services in the city, all of them. So far, we have identified 6,300 lead service lines, and actually, our house is one of them. Just got another mailing about that. Last year, we launched a pilot project in Central Hillside to replace both public and private lead pipes at no cost to the homeowner. It is not cheap, I will tell you. It averages about $16,000 a home, and we know our homeowners can't pay for it all. But working with Senator McEwen and our other Duluth legislators, we're asking the state for $10 million this year to take our program up to scale, and we will continue to aggressively pursue other state and federal money to get the job of lead-free pipes done. I needed the water break too, so thanks for that. Speaking of improving our infrastructure, it is key for healthy communities and healthy households. It's key for connecting neighborhoods and businesses, but it is key to our economic revitalization. For decades, we have been dragged down by this old mantra, a narrative pushed by a few that Duluth is a bad place to do business. And whether this perception is fair or not, when I took office, our economic development team set out to methodically change both the impression and the reality of doing business in Duluth. Last month at the Chamber's annual lunch, I shared in a 40-minute economic development speech for Duluth business leaders how Duluth will be a new mantra as we move forward. Duluth will be the first choice location for business growth and business expansion and business investment and business startup in the state of Minnesota. In partnership with Apex and the Chamber in downtown Duluth and local businesses, we are making it happen, and we are seeing real progress and very tangible results. With still more to come, we have streamlined our city permitting process and we have made it more responsive. We have collected and we are engaged in our economic development audit, asking stakeholders how we can be more effective helping local businesses grow. And thank you to the hundreds of business leaders and community members who participated in this audit process. We are just now receiving the results, and we will release them to you publicly in April with very specific ways we will improve. We have seen 3 straight years of record private investment and 3 straight years of record number building permits. Our focus has really been on jobs. New projects like Costco, expansions like Cirrus, protecting jobs like those we saved at ST Paper, supporting entrepreneurs and new small businesses. We implemented community benefit agreements, and we exceeded goals, creating construction careers for women and people of color and veterans and other historically marginalized workers. 156 construction projects provided more than 2 million work hours to our workers in the trades in just the past 4 years. And last year, we changed partners. We ended the old pay-to-play tourism promotion system where a business got boosted according to how much they paid in. We forged new collaborations with local groups, and now we prioritize bringing economic benefit of visitors to all neighborhoods across the city, including, but not just limited to, Canal Park. And the results are very promising. More and more people are visiting Duluth, and on virtually every measure, we have surpassed last year, as well as our best pre-pandemic record, with more visitors and longer stays, higher revenue over and above inflation. But here's my favorite statistic. 15 of Duluth's 23 neighborhoods saw increased visitation. 9 saw rates of growth faster than Canal Park. And that means more business for local restaurants and local hotels, local retailers, local theaters, local gas stations, local grocery stores. It's happening, and it's working, and it's getting into our neighborhoods. But we know there's always more work to be done. For example, in our downtown, it has been a tough 4 years for our downtown. Reconstructing Superior Street was deeply necessary and really hard on downtown businesses. The pandemic dried up both downtown visitors and office workers. Walking around alone downtown is scary for some people. And I get it. I work downtown every day too. But the struggle is not unique to Duluth. All over the country, cities are faced with how to reimagine and revitalize their downtowns when they can no longer count on daily office workers. Few have figured it out. And Duluth will be one of them that does. Last year, I convened a mayoral downtown task force. Months of hard work resulted in 27 very practical and specific recommendations to address immediate challenges. Thank you to task force co-chairs Christy Stokes and Sean Flerkey, and the 13 downtown leaders, including City Council President, Vice President Roz Randorf, and then City Council President Eric Forsman, who served on this task force. We've already acted on almost all of the recommendations, particularly those focused on increased public safety. Statistically, the facts are actually very clear. Crime has dropped in Duluth by 22% since 2021. But that's not how people feel. And downtown is one of the areas that has seen some increased calls. And again, I get it. Income inequality, increased chemical dependency, mental health issues, the need for additional affordable housing have pushed people to the streets, have pushed some people to panhandling, which, by the way, the Supreme Court and not local elected leaders have established to be a protected First Amendment right. And aggressive behavior and panhandling can feel really scary. Downtown businesses, the elderly, workers, and customers are frustrated. And it's also very frustrating for police and emergency responders who are doing the right thing within a system that oftentimes frustrates their best efforts. We can't arrest ourselves out of this problem. So here is what we're doing. We've expanded 2 innovative programs in our police department, led by Mike Sanoa, Chief Sanoa. The CORE team, which addresses mental health crisis, and our CERT team, which addresses substance abuse issues. Along with the City Council, we also invested $600,000 in a crisis response team run by the Human Development Center. Now, I have to say that investment by the City Council was a very strong positive vote, and I do want to give clear thanks and appreciation to Councilor Gary Anderson, who was very insistent on that investment. And he was right to be. So this team that I just described, they walk the streets and they walk the skywalks downtown to get people help before it becomes a public safety crisis. And this year, following the leadership of the beloved Judge Tarnowski, our city attorney's office, along with the Duluth Police and other community partners, are launching a new misdemeanor mental health court. And I know that many of us in this room are deeply saddened by Sally's unexpected passing this month, but her legacy on this court is a beautiful gift that will live on. The court will focus on high-risk and high-need people who have behaviors that directly impact the community but are ineligible for a traditional treatment court. Rather than being jailed or simply being released to reoffend, we aim to hold offenders accountable by connecting them with services and other resources to address their underlying issues. We can reduce crime and help the people who need our care. And here is an example. Oh, good. So here's an example. Last year, an adult male began drinking heavily. In over 4 months, he generated 80 service calls. It's 20 calls per month. CORE, along with other community allies, worked to get this person the help he needed. And over the next 9 months, he generated just 1 call a month. And he is on the path to just a better life. There are dozens of these stories. These are smart, people-focused, effective public safety initiatives and services, and they are making a difference. This year, we are also going to be taking on 2 of the task force's longer-term recommendations, assessing our skywalk system and developing a comprehensive downtown vision and revitalization plan. And I want to say a little bit more about this. There's research and there's studies and there's lots of ways to back this up. But the truth is, no community thrives without a thriving downtown. Downtown will always be the heart of a city. It tells a story. Our downtowns tell a story about our community. So, what is the story our downtown is telling about Duluth today? Think about it. What is the reason? What is the reason for people to come together downtown when they don't have to be there for work? As a community, we have to answer that question. But I would also say, as a community, we get to answer that question. With thanks to the Duluth Superior Community Area Foundation, 9 Duluth community leaders recently went to Macon, Georgia to study and learn from their successful economic development, downtown revitalization, and community inclusion. And we came back brimming with ideas and energized commitment. And together, we as a community, we're going to answer that question. Over the next 2 months, we'll begin engaging with stakeholders from across our community on next steps right here in Duluth. As a whole community, we must face another big and daunting challenge: childcare. Now, we all agree, I know we do, that every child deserves a great start in life. And we all benefit when that happens. But in Duluth alone, we need nearly 1,300 new childcare spots just to meet the current need. I see firsthand the impact this gap has on our communities. I hear these very urgent stories every single day. Parents who struggle to find childcare so they can go to work or are forced to stay home because they can't afford to pay for it. Employers who are looking to expand but find it hard to find enough workers, in part because of lack of childcare. Childcare providers who love their work, but who face closing their business because they lack staff or can't make ends meet. Childcare workers who can't continue to do the work they love because they can earn more at McDonald's or at Quick Trip. Story after story after story, it keeps coming back to childcare. And I have to say, as a mom, I get it. While childcare is not a typically city government issue, it is one of the most critical issues we face as a city. Before the pandemic struck, Duluth's 1200 Fund began to provide loans and grants to incentivize new childcare availability. It helped, and there was some hopeful progress, but the pandemic made an already deep crisis more dire, and that status quo that we currently have, it is untenable for our community. So for the past few months, I've been visiting childcare providers and hearing their stories and talking with advocates working to change the system. And I just want to say, just last week we were at the YWCA. Thank you to Lonnie. I actually think the governor was there today, and he had a great time reading a book about cats or something too. And I want to thank Bunny Patch, Stacia and her husband, who have a wonderful home-based facility that we were able to visit just last week. City Councilor Eric Forsman and County Commissioner Ashley Grimm have been important local government champions and leaders on this issue, along with a lot of local people and organizations. And what I've been told is still missing is a coordinated approach for these efforts. So in the next few months, I will be convening what will be my 4th mayoral task force. It will comprise a broad cross-section of stakeholders, and its charge will be to provide direction for a coordinated approach, to identify useful city roles, and provide concrete next steps for what we can implement locally, as well as collectively advocate for outside Duluth. So to lead this group, I've asked Tony Surdich of the Northland Foundation and Elissa Hansen from Northspan. And you may recall that these are actually the same leadership pair that led our housing task force, which resulted in the creation of the Duluth Housing Trust Fund. There are no simple answers to the child care crisis, and the challenge truly reaches far beyond Duluth. Solving it will ultimately require state and federal resources on the scale that we invest in other aspects of our children's education. And on this front, there is encouraging news coming from St. Paul, but the crisis is still urgent. And we need to start sometime, and we need to start somewhere. So we are starting here, and we are starting now. Finally, it wouldn't be really a state of the city of mind without talking about housing. Housing has been an intractable problem in Duluth for decades. And for decades, public investment in affordable housing has declined. My administration made housing a top city priority and targeted city resources to catalyze affordable housing, especially for households earning less than $50,000 per year. We created a new position in the planning department to focus and integrate housing at all income levels into all of our city planning. I convened a mayoral task force resulting in Duluth's Housing Trust Fund, a partnership with LISC and others to provide gap funding specifically for housing affordable for lower income families. It has been slow, persistent work, but we are starting to see the results of our unprecedented focus and investment. In partnership with Center City and One Roof and HRA and private development, we have built over 1,700 housing units since I took office. Just this morning, city staff and I toured future 102 units coming online in the old Central, which is awesome, and they're keeping the clock tower. And we have 500 new homes going into downtown over the next couple of years. This doesn't even include what's going to be happening at the top of the hill at New Central. There is more housing being built over a comparable time period than we've seen in decades. And yes, there is still more work to do. As a former Chum social worker for 12 years, homelessness is a moral issue for me. And I think it's a moral issue for many of you too. Working for Chum taught me about people and how the world works, who gets listened to and who feels invisible, how many people live way too close to an edge. The city will continue to find ways to work and support the Stepping On Up model, a community-driven coalition that has developed a very ambitious, persistent, and smart phased plan to address safe housing and supportive services for the unhoused. But let me be clear. Addressing this problem must be a whole community effort. Business and government and hospitals and advocacy groups and the faith community and universities and others. We have got a long way to go, and we must continue our efforts until everyone has a secure home. But for the first time in a very long time, we are seeing important forward momentum on affordable housing. So there are good things happening all across Duluth. And I'm here tonight to report that the state of the city is strong, and it is growing stronger because of our work together. Normally, I like to end big speeches with a rousing wind-up crescendo to stir you awake again. But tonight, I want to end on a quieter note with gratitude for those of you here in the theater or watching at home who have pitched in with your vision for Duluth and put your shoulder to the wheel of making this community better. And I especially want to lift up work of an amazing leadership team and the 850 city workers who I get to work with every day, who are working with us and with you and for us to make every day a good day in Duluth. So here's a little bit about them. There's a snowplow driver who stopped his plow to help a 70-year-old woman finish shoveling her drive. The police officer called because a woman was caught stealing mittens, and the officer did do their job, but also paid for the mittens so her daughter's hands could get warm. The public works employee who kept in constant contact with the neighborhood and neighborhood residents when a water pipe broke and needed replacing. The library worker who sat with an agitated man until he calmed down and she got him the help he needed. The workforce center receptionist who greets people experiencing challenging times with a beaming smile and who has been described by job seekers as one of the nicest people I've ever encountered. and the parks employee who went out into the subarctic temperatures earlier this winter to make sure the trails were groomed for Duluth skiers. This is the persistent, beautiful work that the city does every single day, and our workers do for you every single day. I could go on and on. For every day, I see Duluth City workers take the extra effort to get the job done, and often under challenging circumstances. Thank you for that. So, the topics of my speech tonight are not new. That's not by accident, because progress comes through a steady vision and the relentless pursuit of it. The issues Duluth cares about are many, and they are huge. Housing, childcare, public safety, parks, places to play sports and get outside, reliable broadband, good streets, job growth, lead-free pipes. These issues, none of them have quick fixes. There is no room for distraction over a shiny new thing. We have deliberately chosen to take on issues that are generational in the making, and solving them is generational in the resolution. And in partnership with you, through years of persistent work and attention, we are making progress, despite how much more work there still is to do. And none of that happens by accident or just wishing it would be so. And while I've provided leadership and vision and kept at it, I want to make absolutely clear that our progress is a community effort. It is the community and your priorities that have guided me in this city, sustained me in this city, and called me and the city to account. We're making progress, and we're writing a new chapter in Duluth because of you. Because we've worked together and stuck to the job that needs to be done. I mean, we're sitting in a grand theater that was built during the Great Depression. That happened because we are a community of hard work and big hope, because we are a community of clear vision and persistent action, because we know hard work and we also know each other, because this is our community. We know who we are and we know what we are capable of, because we are Duluth. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Emily Larson, for your persistence. It has been doing great work for all of our community here in Duluth. So before we close out, I do get the privilege again of retiring the color guard, and then I'll make my last comments. So now everyone, if you could please stand, I'd ask that the color guard please retire the colors when you're ready. Color guard, please retire the colors.
Three, face. Present, arm.